The fluorescent lights buzzed like the labored breathing of someone dying. I stood before the evidence board, my palms slick with sweat but cold as ice where they pressed against the metal desk's edge. One photograph, pinned dead center, alone. Abuela Rosa huddled on a cracked plastic bench at the Greyhound station, gray cardigan thin as tissue paper. A Walmart bag beside her, the kind she'd used for groceries for 30 years, now bulging with what remained of her life. Bottom corner of the photo, a red timestamp blinked. 2:47 a.m. 38 degrees Fahrenheit. Detective Mills's heavy breathing behind me. Officer Rodriguez. I didn't turn around. My eyes stayed locked on Abuela's hands in the photo. Those gnarled, trembling fingers clutching her wooden rosary beads. The same rosary she'd counted every night before bed for 30 years. Lips moving through prayers for the granddaughter she'd bet everything on. You sure about this? I swallowed hard. The sound too loud in the silent room. I'm sure, sir. Those are your parents, Emma. I know. Those two words dropped into the air like stones thrown at frozen water. Shattered. Cold. Irreversible. And in that moment, I saw my father's face again. 12 years ago, standing in Abuela's doorway with eyes holding nothing but disappointment. You're not cut out for this, mija. Badges are for people without family obligations. Then the image dissolved like smoke. But his voice kept echoing in my ears like church bells that wouldn't stop tolling. My fingers trembled as I unpinned the badge from my chest. Not from fear, but from recognition. Recognizing that this decision would sever everything. No turning back. No forgiveness. Nothing left to salvage. I placed the badge on the desk. Metal on metal. Clink. Rang out like a gunshot in the night. Before I'm their daughter, sir. My voice steadier than I expected. I'm a police officer in this town. And the law doesn't make exceptions. Not even for blood. Detective Mills stayed silent. A long, heavy silence pressing down on my shoulders like sandbags. Then he bent down, picked up the badge. Light reflected off the polished metal surface, casting trembling streaks across the wall. He placed the badge back in my palm, the metal warming gradually. Or maybe my hand had gone so numb I couldn't feel the cold anymore. Keep it. His voice hoarse. You'll need it more than you think. He turned toward the filing cabinet, pulled open a drawer. Metal scraping metal like nails on a chalkboard. A thick file landed on the desk in front of me, papers rustling, the smell of printer ink and old dust rising up. Case number 847. He opened the first page. Elder abandonment investigation. Complainant, anonymous. His finger stopped at the next line. Suspects, Miguel and Carmen Rodriguez. Those bold letters hit my eyes like a punch to the gut. Father, mother. 2 words I'd never really understood my whole life. 2 words that were now just names on an indictment. Lead investigator. Detective Mills looked at me. His eyes held no pity, no encouragement, only naked respect. Officer Emma Rodriguez. The AC rumbled. Fluorescent lights flickered off, on, off, on. I felt my heartbeat slow, each pulse deliberate, like counting down to something irreversible. But before this moment, before I had to open that file and read line by line the report of how my parents abandoned the woman who'd sacrificed everything to raise me. Let me tell you a story that started 32 years ago in a dusty border town called El Paso, Texas, with an old woman carrying nothing but a battered suitcase and a dream that wasn't hers, but belonged to a 4-year-old granddaughter she'd never met. El Paso, Texas, 1992. August. I was 4 years old, sitting on cracked linoleum, hungry. Didn't know what time it was. Only knew darkness had crept into every corner of the room, and the ceiling fan spun with a rattling sound like it might fall. The soundtrack of endless waiting. Keys jangling. 11:47 p.m. Grandma Rosa walked in, shoulders hunched like she carried the weight of the entire day. Light blue housekeeping uniform stained with dried sweat. The smell of bleach rising from her skin. The scent of hotel rooms people paid to forget, while she was never allowed to forget. She didn't ask where my mother was. Didn't ask why I'd been sitting alone for 12 hours. She just knelt down, held me. Her hands rough as sandpaper, but warm. And I heard her heartbeat, slow, steady, like a drum announcing everything would be okay, even though it wasn't. Have you eaten, baby? I shook my head. She stood up, opened the fridge. Pale yellow light spilled onto near absolute emptiness. 1 carton of milk, half a shriveled tomato, 2 eggs. She stood still, staring into that emptiness like she was solving an impossible equation. Then she took out the eggs, both of them, cracked them into the cast iron pan. Oil sizzling. The smell of frying eggs spreading. So good I swallowed repeatedly. She didn't cook for herself, only for me. Set the plate on the floor because the dining table had been sold last week. Eat, my love. I ate, fast, like someone might take it away. She sat watching, hand stroking my hair, lips murmuring prayers. I didn't understand every word, but I understood the tone. That voice carried pain and hope inseparable. Years later, I learned those were the only 2 eggs she had for the entire week. And I finally understood. Love isn't words. Love is the last 2 eggs you give away, even when your own stomach is empty. My parents didn't call for the next 3 months. Sent no money, no news, only silence. The kind of silence a 4-year-old slowly learns to accept. Some people get to stay. Some people get left behind. And the difference isn't about what you deserve. It's just luck. Grandma worked 2 jobs. Housekeeping 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., dishwasher 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. Between shifts, she'd come home to cook for me, put me down for a nap, then leave again. 5 days, 6 days, 7 when the restaurant needed weekend help. I learned to be alone. How to open the fridge for milk without dropping it. How to turn on the TV for the sound of voices. How to sit by the window counting cars, imagining the day my parents would drive up and say, "We're home." But that day never came. Instead, I grew up to the sound of the ceiling fan spinning, in the bleach smell from her uniform, in meals made from leftover rice and canned beans. I grew up knowing there's a kind of hunger that isn't about food. It's about people. Time passed. I turned 8, 10, 12. Grandma aged day by day but never stopped working. Her back curved, her hair went white. Her hands trembled holding a spoon, but she kept working. For me. Always for me. I excelled in school, not because I was smarter than anyone, but because it was the only way I could repay her. Every A was an unspoken thank you. Every scholarship meant one less night shift for her. Every award was proof that those 2 eggs she gave me weren't wasted. 18 years old, valedictorian, full scholarship, graduation ceremony in an old auditorium with faded blue plastic chairs. Grandma sat in the front row, alone, wearing her best white blouse, the only one not stained from work. Her hands clutching the wooden rosary beads, eyes red-rimmed. I walked across the stage, lights so bright I could barely see, but I still found her. She was crying, waving, lips forming words I couldn't hear but understood. She was proud of me. The seat beside her, empty. 2 seats, both empty. My parents sent a card, the Walgreens kind with flowers and pre-printed words. Inside, messy handwriting. So proud of you, love, Mom and Dad. With a $50 check. Like money could buy back 18 years. I tore up the check, didn't cash it, ripped it into tiny pieces, dropped it in the trash. Grandma stood nearby, said nothing. Just placed her hand on my shoulder, and that gentle touch weighed more than any words of comfort. 4 years later, criminal justice degree. 2 years after that, police academy, top of my class. She came to everything, alone. Always alone. Each time she cried, not from sadness, but from happiness mixed with fear. Fear she wouldn't have enough time to see me become who she believed I could be. 24 years old, police uniform for the first time, badge gleaming. She stood behind me, hand on my shoulder. She looked at me through the mirror, eyes glistening. You look beautiful, baby. Thank you. Silence. Then she said, voice trembling, your parents, they would be proud. I turned around. You're the only parent I need. She smiled, a sad smile. The smile of someone who knows the truth doesn't always heal wounds. She hugged me. I felt her shoulder bones jutting out like dry branches. A week later, they came back, knock on the door. I opened it. My parents stood outside. 18 years, but I recognized them immediately. Dad, older, balding. Mom, heavier, heavy makeup. Both wearing expensive-looking knockoffs, the outlet mall kind, trying to pass for boutique. Emma! Dad opened his arms for a hug. Look at you, all grown up. I didn't move forward, stood still, hand gripping the doorknob tight. 18 years. Silence. Long enough for a child to grow up alone. Long enough for a mother to forget her daughter's voice. But apparently not long enough for you to forget this address. Mom forced a smile. You're upset. We understand. Business in Dallas was tough, honey, really tough. But we're back now. She stepped closer, to be a family again. Grandma Rosa emerged from the kitchen, dish towel in hand. Seeing them, she stopped. Her face showed no anger, no joy. Only the deep exhaustion of someone who'd seen too many broken promises. What do you need? She asked, voice flat as someone asking prices at a market. Silence. Dad and Mom exchanged glances, the kind people give when deciding who speaks first. Mom cleared her throat. Mom, you're 72. We worry about your health. We want, artificially sweet voice. We want to take care of you. I stood there, watching them, And in that moment, I understood. This wasn't a reunion. This wasn't family. This was something else. Something I couldn't see clearly yet, but could smell. Like rotting meat. She doesn't need your care. I stepped between Grandma and them. She has me. Dad looked at me. Really looked for the first time. Emma, we're her children. We have a responsibility. Responsibility. The word shot out like a bullet. You don't know what that word means. She raised me alone, 2 jobs, 18 years. Where was your responsibility then? That's not fair. Fair? I laughed. No humor. She gave me her last 2 eggs when I was 4, worked past midnight so I could eat, cried alone every night wondering if you'd call. That's fair? Mom wiped her eyes. Fake. I saw right through it. We made mistakes, honey. We're trying to make it right. Then go. I pointed at the door. Make it right by leaving. Like 18 years ago. But they didn't leave. They talked to Grandma. Soft voices. Persuasive. I saw her waver, her face softening. Because no matter how long they'd abandoned her, they were still her children. And a mother's heart doesn't learn to refuse her kids. A week later, Grandma moved in with them. Not into my apartment, into their newly purchased house in Pinewood, a town an hour's drive from El Paso. A house with a $1,850 monthly mortgage. A house they couldn't afford without Grandma's $1,247 Social Security check. I knew, but she had chosen. I couldn't stop her. 3 years. 3 years watching her wither. Every visit, every 2 weeks, never missed, she was thinner. Quieter. Her eyes distant, like she was looking toward somewhere I couldn't reach. 3 years they took her money, took her health, took everything left. I just watched, powerless. Because she said they were her children, they were trying. But that night, the truth had nowhere left to hide. 2:34 a.m. Phone buzzed. Text from Mrs. Chen, the Vietnamese neighbor who lived next door. Mrs. Chen was kind. Always brought soup for Grandma Rosa. Always sat and talked even though they didn't share a language. They spoke in gestures, in smiles, in kindness that needed no words. Emma, I'm so sorry, but you need to know what they did. Attached, 1 photo. Grandma Rosa, alone at the Greyhound station. Walmart plastic bag. 2:47 a.m. 38 degrees Fahrenheit. My heart stopped, then started again. Fast as war drums, called Grandma, no answer. Called Dad, voicemail. Called Mom, voicemail, full. Put on my uniform, didn't change clothes, didn't brush my hair. Grabbed car keys, ran. 40 minutes driving through the night. No cars on the road. Just yellow streetlights streaking past like shooting stars. For 40 minutes, I prayed. First time in years. Not to God, to her. Please be there. Please breathe. Please wait. 40 minutes felt like 40 years. The warrant was issued at 5:47 p.m. Within 2 hours, every police department from Pinewood to Dallas had my parents' photos. Within 4 hours, they were arrested at the Oklahoma border. Within 6 hours, they sat in a patrol car heading back to Pinewood, and within 8 hours, the whole town knew. Not because I said anything, but because Mrs. Martinez, the neighbor across the street from my parents' house, posted on Facebook. Police just arrested Miguel and Carmen Rodriguez for abandoning Rosa at the bus station. Officer Emma Rodriguez, their daughter, is the investigating officer. Now that's justice. Within 1 hour, 847 shares. Within 2 hours, 2,341 comments. By the next morning, all of Central Texas was talking about the cop who arrested her own parents. I didn't read the comments right away, just sat by Grandma's bed at Pinewood Medical. She was sleeping, monitor beeping steadily, her breathing soft, my hand holding hers. Her hand warmer than that night, but still small, still fragile, still the hand that raised me. "You did good, baby." Dr. Patel stood in the doorway. He walked in, not wearing a white coat, just blue scrubs. Night shift. "She's recovering well. Few more days she can go home." Home. The word sat heavy, because she didn't have a home anymore. My parents' house wasn't an option, my apartment too small. An officer's salary couldn't cover full-time care. Dr. Patel seemed to read my thoughts. "I heard about the scholarship fund. Mrs. Chen started it for Rosa's care. Already raised $8,000 in 12 hours. He paused. "The town wants to help, Emma. You're not alone in this." He left, door closed softly. I sat there, in silence, and for the first time in 3 days, I felt like I could breathe. 2 days later, the Pinewood Gazette ran the headline, "Local officer chooses duty over blood. Emma Rodriguez files charges against parents in elder abuse case." The article didn't sensationalize, didn't dramatize, just facts. Video footage, bank statements, medical reports, and a quote from me. "The law doesn't make exceptions for family. If it did, it wouldn't be law. It would be preference." Below the article, 412 comments. I opened my laptop, couldn't resist. John M_Pinewood. "This is what integrity looks like, but I hope she can forgive them someday. Not for them, for herself." I read that sentence, stopped. Forgiveness. A word that had never entered my thoughts. Could I? Enforce the law, but still forgive? Sarah K_Texas. "I don't know if I could do what she did. My mother has dementia. It's exhausting. I understand why they broke. But breaking doesn't excuse abandoning." Understand but not excuse. Right, that's the difference. Anonymous. "I arrested my brother for domestic violence last year. Hardest thing I ever did, but I'd do it again. Some lines you don't cross." There were others who understood. Pastor Jim_Pinewood. "Forgiveness is divine. Judgment is not ours to make." I stared at this comment for a long time, then typed a reply. First time I'd ever replied to a comment. Forgiveness doesn't mean no consequences. It means hoping they become better. But today they face what they did. That's not judgment. That's justice. Posted. Closed the laptop. Not because I didn't care, but because I had my answer. Justice and forgiveness aren't mutually exclusive. I could enforce the law and still hope that one day they'd be better. But today, justice comes first. A week later, town hall meeting. I didn't want to go, but Mayor Davis called. "Emma, you need to be there. This is bigger than your case now. Pinewood Community Center, 7 p.m. Over 400 people." I sat in the back row, plain clothes. Grandma Rosa sat beside me, wheelchair. Mrs. Chen had pushed her here. I didn't know she'd be here. Mayor Davis stepped up to the podium. "Tonight, we're here because one of our own showed us what courage looks like. Officer Emma Rodriguez chose justice over blood." Applause. Not everyone, but enough to echo. "And tonight, Pinewood ensures no senior goes through what Rosa Rodriguez did. We're creating Rosa's Law, the strongest elder protection in Central Texas." The mayor read the specifics. Rosa's law requires monthly wellness checks by social workers for all seniors living with family who receive their Social Security. Mandatory reporting with 24-hour response. Financial transparency. Quarterly statements required. Criminal penalties increased to felony for exploitation over $5,000. Pause. This isn't just paper. This is protection. This is saying, our elders built this town. We will not let them be abandoned in it. Standing ovation. I stayed seated because this wasn't about me. This was about her. About all the Rosa Rodriguezes out there. Mrs. Chen stood up, her English unclear but understandable enough. I live Pinewood 25 years. Many people talk family values. Emma Rodriguez, first person I see live them. She not protect her family, she protect our family. Every senior this town. Louder applause. Dr. Patel. Pinewood Medical is forming an elder abuse response team. We want Officer Rodriguez as an advisor. Grandma Rosa placed her hand on mine. You did good, baby. Estoy orgullosa de ti. I couldn't hold it in. Gripped her hand. Cried. First time crying in front of others. But it was okay, because these were tears of relief, of gratitude, of knowing I'd done right. 2 months later, Bell County Courthouse. My parents stood before the judge. I sat in the back, uniform on, badge gleaming. They didn't look at me. I didn't look at them. We were just strangers in a courtroom. Mr. Miguel Rodriguez and Mrs. Carmen Rodriguez, having entered guilty pleas to injury to elderly, reduced to state jail felony, and financial exploitation, the court sentences: 2 years deferred adjudication, 400 hours community service at nursing facilities, full restitution $44,892 to Rosa Rodriguez, 5-year protective order, no contact. Names on Texas Elder Abuse Registry. Gavel. The judge looked at me. In 22 years on the bench, I've never seen a complainant investigate their own parents. Officer Rodriguez, you showed what protect and serve means. Not just a badge, but a promise. I stood up, saluted. Not for them, for the court, for the system, for the belief that law must be fair to everyone. Prepared to walk out, then heard a sound. Crying. Turned around. Mom was crying, silently, shoulders shaking. Dad's hand on her shoulder. And in that moment, I saw them. Not as criminals, not as monsters. Just 2 people who'd made wrong choices and now had to pay the price. Part of me wanted to go back, wanted to say, I'm sorry. Wanted to hug them and say, we can fix this. But I didn't, because some things can't be fixed. Some choices can't be undone. Some consequences must be faced. I turned my back, walked out, didn't look back. Not because I didn't love them, but because I loved her more. 3 months later, new apartment, 2 bedrooms. The scholarship fund raised $43,000. Enough for part-time care and medical expenses for 3 years. Saturday morning, I took Grandma grocery shopping. She wanted to pick her own vegetables. I can do it myself, baby. I stood back, watching. She held each tomato, squeezed gently, checking firmness, like she'd done 30 years ago in El Paso. An elderly woman walked past, looked at her, stopped. "You're Rosa Rodriguez, aren't you?" Grandma looked up, confused. "Yes. I saw you on the news. What your granddaughter did, that was brave." Grandma smiled, small and gentle. "She's a good girl. Always has been." The woman placed her hand on Grandma's shoulder, said nothing, just squeezed lightly, then walked away. Grandma turned to look at me, eyes bright. "People are kind, baby." I stepped closer, stood beside her, looking at the vegetables together. "You taught me that. You taught me kindness is the only thing worth fighting for." She held my hand small, but warm and strong. We picked vegetables together, like a real family, not because of blood, but because of choice. That evening, laptop open, email from an unfamiliar address. Subject, "Thank you." "Officer Rodriguez, my name is Maria Santos. You don't know me, but because of what you did, I finally had the courage to report my son for stealing my disability checks. For 3 years, I told myself it's okay. He's family. He needs money. I can manage without medication. But when I saw your story, when I saw you choose law over blood, I realized, if a police officer can do it with her own parents, I can do it with my son. Today, APS opened a case. Today, I got my money back. Today, I'm not a victim anymore. Thank you for showing that family isn't who takes from you, it's who protects you." I closed the laptop, looked out the window. Out there, somewhere in Pinewood, an elderly woman was sleeping peacefully for the first time in 3 years. Somewhere in Dallas, someone was holding their phone, about to call the APS hotline. Somewhere in Houston, Austin, San Antonio, 8 towns were drafting Rosa's Law, preparing to protect thousands of seniors. And I understood. This wasn't about me. Not about my parents. Not even about Grandma Rosa. This was about all the Rosa Rodriguezes out there. All the Maria Santoses. All the people living in silence because they thought family comes first. But family doesn't come first. Love comes first. And real love never hurts like this. Phone buzzed. Text from Detective Mills. Council approved Rosa's Law. Effective immediately. 8 Texas towns adopting. You started something, Rodriguez. Reply. We started something, sir. And it's just beginning. Put the phone down. Looked at Grandma. She was dozing by the window. Afternoon sun shining on her face. Peaceful. Safe. Home. I stood up, got a blanket, covered her. She didn't wake, just smiled in her sleep. And I thought about the badge on my chest. This badge isn't metal, isn't decoration, it's a promise. A promise I swore not to the department, but to everyone who can't protect themselves. She kept that promise for me when I was 4. Those last 2 eggs, 2 jobs, 20 years without rest. Now it's my turn. Not just for her, but for everyone like her. For every Maria Santos. For everyone waiting for someone to stand up and say, "Not on my watch." That's what this badge means. Not about power, but about promise. The promise that justice will be served. Regardless of who, regardless of cost, even when it's your own family. Outside the window, the sun set, sky turning orange, pink, purple. Beautiful. A new day would come, and with it, a stronger Pinewood, a stronger Texas, a world where the elderly don't have to fear those they love most. For the first time in 3 months, I felt not just peace, but purpose. And that's what this badge has always meant. Not the end of one story, but the beginning of many others. If you're watching this video and you know a senior who's being abandoned, being exploited, living in fear in their own children's home, don't wait 24 hours like I did. Don't wait for someone else to speak up, because every hour you wait is another hour they have to endure. Call Adult Protective Services. Call the police. Call anyone who can help. Because the truth is, real family isn't about shared blood. Real family is about who stands up when no one else will, who chooses right over easy, who protects instead of staying silent. Grandma Rosa taught me that not with words, but with those last 2 eggs, with 2 jobs without rest, with 30 years of unconditional love. She showed me that love isn't a title. Love is action. It's sacrifice. It's staying when everyone else leaves. And sometimes, the greatest love you can show is saying no to someone you love when they do wrong. Holding them accountable. Choosing justice over convenience. Because that's not betraying family. That's protecting what family truly represents. Safety. Respect. Dignity. The badge I wear isn't just metal, isn't just a symbol of authority. It's a daily reminder that some promises matter more than blood, some obligations transcend DNA, and some choices, the hardest choices, the most heartbreaking choices, are the ones that define who we are. I don't regret what I did, but I regret one thing: not doing it sooner, not seeing the signs earlier, not asking the harder questions. Because during those 3 years, while I was convincing myself that they're family, they're trying, she was withering, losing money, losing dignity, waiting for someone, anyone, to look and say, "This isn't right." If you're in a similar situation, if you're the one being exploited, or you know someone who is, know this: you're not alone. You don't have to endure it because that's family. You don't have to stay silent because blood is thicker than water. Because the truth is, blood isn't thicker than love, and real love never asks you to sacrifice your dignity, your safety, or your human rights. Rosa's law is now in effect in 9 Texas towns and being considered in 15 more. But laws are just words on paper until people like you, people like Maria Santos, people like me decide that enough is enough. Decide that our elders deserve better. Decide that family must be built on love, not exploitation. Grandma Rosa is safe now, warm, loved. Not alone in her son's house, but surrounded by a community that chose to stand up for her. And that's a difference we all need to learn. Thank you for watching. If this story touched you, please share it, not for me, but for someone out there sitting in the cold, waiting for a bus that will never come, who needs to know that someone will come instead. Be that someone.